Good evening to all of you. This is Piyush Kashyap, a technology enthusiastic and UI UX developer currently working as a core team member at Engineers Connect. I would like to welcome you all in this beautiful evening as we all are here to participate in leadership and art of letting go session. The day I thought of organizing this event for inspirational thought generation of thinking for the skills enhancement, and I hope it will be going to get successful event. So we planned and launched this event for future development and inspirational lifestyle for your path. So thank you very much for your participation. Now I would like to introduce our company Engineers Connect. So Engineers Connect. Engineers Connect aims at the building a new ecosystem for engineers and tech aspirants where only their skills matter, opening doors to a vast community, knowledge building, and employment opportunities. User can explore jobs and internships with us. They can take guidance and clarifying doubts to engineers. We providing free online tests in EC portal to know whether students has relevant knowledge about the stream, and it also increase EC points and increase your chance to fetch jobs and internships. We are giving webinars, workshops, and courses for engineers to have their core concept on particular subjects. Now, I would like to request our company's founder and CEO, Mr. Bhushan Gaikwad, to inspire students with their valuable words. Thank you.
Hello everyone, a very good evening. This is Bhushan Gaikwad. I'm the founder and CEO of Engineers Connect, and I'm very happy to present this event with a very amazing speaker, Sandhya ma'am. And leadership is always the best topic, and I myself look forward to looking at like getting more knowledge about leadership and the art of leadership. And I'm very happy to present this event with the amazing speaker, Sandhya ma'am. And especially the art of letting
Hello, ma'am. My voice is clear.
Yes, I can't hear Bhushan.
Yeah,
we can go
that's
ahead
the
with Sandhya ma'am
issue.
Piyush.
Yes, I introduce. So, with due respect, I would like to introduce our expert, Lieutenant Sandhya Suri, inspirational icon born in 1972. She worked for 10 years as a corporate sector, marketing, administration, then finally human resources of industry circle in Nigeria, and was commissioned into the Navy on 18th August 1994. Inspiring Woman Award of the Year 2020. She is a author, poet, entrepreneur, three times TEDx speaker, change enabler, inspiring and breaking barriers for the men and women. I would like to request to all the participants to follow each and every guidelines from her. Be focused in whole session and don't left the meet in between because all your queries will be resolved at the end of session. Thank you. Over to you, our expert, Lieutenant Sandhya Suri, ma'am. Dice is all yours. Thank you.
Thank you, Engineers Connect. Bhushan Gaikwad, Piyush Kashyap, for inviting me to the webinar this afternoon. While it gives me great pleasure to be here as a speaker, I must say it's quite an interesting spot for me to be in despite everything. Why is that, you may wonder? Our experiences make us and have the ability to evolve us and transform us into beings that can do so much more in our lives if we only learn to let go. And that basically is the theme on which I will be speaking about, but not just letting go. First, we will talk about it in a bit of a depth, and then we will move on to leadership. In terms of the way the session is going to go on, my request is that please, we will have breaks in between in which you can ask questions. Also know that sometimes the answers lie a little ahead of when I'm speaking. So if the answer is a little ahead, I'll probably tell you so. Otherwise, but please do not hesitate to ask because there are no stupid questions. Not in my dictionary. There are always questions that need to be answered. So feel free to ask. Who am I? Uh, a human being. What am I? An aware human being. Why am I here today? Because the space of magic lies beyond our comfort zone. And that's always the way things are. Where am I going to take you today? I'm going to take you into a little bit of my space, and I would like to go into a little bit of yours. And how is that going to happen? That's going to happen by understanding, unlearning, and learning, both ways. I'm grateful to all the people in my life who have taught me my life's biggest lessons, be it out of love, be it out of duty, be it out of dedication, spite, jealousy, and anger, anything. And you will meet all kinds of people. The truth is that we are all of the same species, men, women, transgenders, all of us, whatever number of genders we have created in the process of trying to understand ourselves. Thus, I've always wondered actually, why is it so important to specify our gender, first of all? Does it change my species? No, it doesn't. Often when I think of these things, I find myself also thinking of a genderless world where there's no gender. What if there was no classification of gender? Would we be treated better as a gender, whether it's men, women, transgenders, otherwise? Uh, we keep believing that the opposite gender does not understand us. I'm not so sure how many men or women are there in the audience today, but we are all on the same planet. We are not from Mars, we are not from Venus, we are really on Earth, and we just need to be, uh, aware of that fact. What is the point of being boxed into things? Would we not rather change things? So let's begin to understand what kind of change is possible and how much it lies in our hands to be that change. So what I'm going to share now is not about discriminating against men or women. It's just about being honest. But yeah, if you want to classify gender, I'd rather be just a human. So, you know, in terms of communication, so let's pick up something called communication, how we've grown up as people. When we were young, uh, on a generic note, exceptions are not example, they're just a case in point, right? Generically, men and women are brought up differently. Women, when they're girls, they're brought up differently to emote maximum by way of being compliant, polite, and the only expression that they learn for any emotion that they have is crying. It's sad, but yeah, that's usually what happens. Men, on the other hand, learn to express almost everything: anger, passion, joy, laughter, all of these things. However, it's not that they are expressing the emotions in every way possible. They are taught not to cry. And therein lies the main, uh, divide. The great divide happens then when we grow up into teenagers, for example, and now we're trying to become adults. We're halfway in between. And then we realize we cannot understand each other the way we would like to understand. And why does that happen? So let me
Sandhya, can I
narrate an
interrupt
incident.
you for a minute?
Sorry?
Hello? Yeah. there are 3 to 4 comments in which they are saying that you are a bit not audible. So just they are asking you to speak a bit louder so that you can be audible.
Okay, my speaker is on max, so I'm not so sure.
Means
I'm
you are
gonna try and
audible,
keep this
you are
here.
clearly audible, just that the volume is low, nothing else.
Yeah, no, my volume is on max, so you might have to, they might have to also increase their volume.
Okay, okay. So everyone, please increase your volume. And
Or I could just pull it off and get on the speaker phone on the phone
no,
itself.
right now you are on a good note. I mean, the way
I'm
you're
on a good
speaking right
note.
now,
Okay,
yeah, right now the way you're speaking, it's clear.
thank you.
Yeah, you can give.
So let me narrate this little incident, which is how I ended up realizing this. There was a 16-year-old boy, a nephew of mine, a friend's son, basically. I had gone and I was having dinner with them. And while on the dinner table, this boy's girlfriend calls up on the phone and she was crying. The minute he receives the call and he finds out that the girl is crying, he hands the phone to his mother. He says, why, please talk to her. And the mother said, why should I talk to her? She's your girlfriend. You should be talking. He says, I don't know what to say. And it was a simple statement like that. And I sat and I thought about that. And it is then that I realized, I said, when a boy grows up not understanding what it is like to cry, how is he going to understand crying when he grows up? When a girl doesn't understand what it's like to express joy and other things, when she grows up, she becomes emotive only by crying. She's happy, she cries. If she's sad, she cries. If she's angry, she cries. Everything is expressed through tears. And therein lies your gap of two people. The whole gender gap becomes bigger and bigger because you come from different spaces of expression. So, communication, when you're talking about communication for men, for women, that is where the divide starts. I'm going to park this here. We'll just put this thing aside. We will let it fester for a while I move on to the next thing. So let's get on to an activity. If you have a pen and paper, it would be really great to. I know I'm jumping this on you, but just write it down for yourself. Okay. I'm going to list out 10 bad habits of listening. Please check the ones, tick mark the ones where you are sometimes guilty of committing when you're communicating with others. Number one, and please be honest with yourself. It's not an exam, it's not a race, there's no award at the end of this. Point number one, I interrupt often to try or finish other people's sentence. That's one. Number two, I jump to conclusions. Number three, I am often overtly parental and answer with advice even when it is not requested. Number four, I make up my mind before I have all the information. Number five, I am a compulsive note taker. I will keep writing down everything that's being told. Number six, I don't give a response afterwards. Even if I say I will, I don't respond. Number seven, I am impatient. Number eight, I lose my temper when I hear things that I don't agree. Next point, I try to change the subject to something that relates to my own experiences. And I am supremely guilty of this, let me tell you that. I have consciously tried to stop this habit in terms of the listening part. I think more about my reply. This is the last point. I think more about my reply while the other person is speaking than listen to what he or she is saying. So these are the 10 points. Now you know what are the points that you have and you know exactly what you have been getting. So the art of understanding and communication, a lot of the issues are in all these points. Park that aside. I'm going to keep asking you to park things aside and we'll take it up as a question and answer. Now, there are different levels of listening. When I'm talking about the habits of listening, there's also a level of listening that we have. And the levels are very, very different. So, one level is the level of not listening. That means not paying attention to or ignoring the other person's communication, which is usually, for me, sometimes it's about the bankers calling and asking for EMI. And I'm like, I don't have money to pay. I don't even want to answer the call. Not coming, not listening. All right. Point two, Pretend listening, acting like or giving the impression that you're paying attention to another person's communication. You keep nodding, but actually you're not really paying attention to that person. That is pretending to listen, pretend listening. Then you have something called partial listening. That means you're only focusing on that part of a communication and you're giving it undivided or divided attention. You're only listening selectively. So that's another kind of communication, another kind of listening. Then you have another kind which is called interpretative listening, which is going beyond paying attention when you're listening and really trying to understand what the other person is communicating, which is the kind of communication or listening I would probably expect from you at the right now at the beginning. But I would probably look for the other levels of listening as we get on with this instead of you falling asleep. If any of you is feeling are feeling sleepy, please let me know so I can change my the way I'm probably communicating to you. The next one is interactive listening, which is what I'm looking forward to, which is the sixth type of listening, being involved in the communication by asking clarifying questions, acknowledging understanding of communication. But the last one is the most important. That is called engaged listening, which means you are fully engaged in communication and it involves listening to the other points of person's point of view, feelings, interpreting it, values, etc., and concerning the communication and sharing your own communication as well with the other person. In engaged listening, both the parties are given the full opportunity to fully express their views, feelings, and ideas. This is the kind of communication one would desire when you're working in any organization, when you're in a relationship. That is the desirable kind of communication that you want. You want to build something. When this communication doesn't happen, one begins to be resentful. That's where you lose your employees by. That's where people decide to leave work and go find work somewhere else where they are heard. And it's so important. And trust me, there is nothing like actually listening to an employee. Whether you are going to do something about it or not, it's important to listen to them. Very critical. And I've been in HR for years altogether. One reason I have found myself, uh, you know, on the chair sitting as an HR and struggling to explain to the management that you need to listen. It's important to absorb the feedback because feedback is as important to change and evolving as it is for anything else. So communication, that's the bottom. That's the first. We have learned language since our birth. Most of us sitting in this room, wherever you are, we are at least bilingual. We know actually at least two languages. And some of us maybe three, maybe four. Some of us know basics of a few languages because that itself is, a range of means of communication. So in every language, you will have your own vocabulary. And what is our vocabulary? Now, let's begin from things that are possible, change those things that are possible, and move on to better levels, right? How does that begin? And that begins by replacing words and deleting some of them from our vocabulary, right? But look at it this way. Now I'm going to give you a gender partition of languages and vocabulary, mainly because you have women colleagues all over the world. We are all trying to create empowered women in the world. Nobody's teaching the guys how to be with empowered women, whether as colleagues at work, whether as partners, whether as friends, whether as siblings, parents, a child, whatever the case. Women are expected to use little modifications when they are speaking to each other, which means they are expected to use a soft tone, be more woman-like. So women end up using words like just, maybe, sort of, iffy, kind of. So it's like, you're leaving it like out in the open, interpret it whichever way you like, whatever is convenient to the other. The impact of that sentence, what you're trying to say, however, gets diminished. And that is what I'm trying to explain to you, right? So when women end up using words like just, maybe, sort of, you say, if something is making you uncomfortable, you say, that sort of makes me uncomfortable. sort of. No, the truth is it is making you uncomfortable, and that is what you need to say. You need to say, that makes me uncomfortable. Please delete the word sort of from your dictionary. You are not communicating that. There's another word, another sentence that we keep using, even in the office, where you don't want to hurt the other person's feeling. You say, and this could be used by men and women also. Men are also quite mindful sometimes, and mindfulness sometimes it's not really required at some point, and then we tend to use it. So picture this, a sentence which says, maybe you should leave, and the other sentence is, please leave. Which is more impactful? It's the second, it's not the first. You have diminished, you're dissolving the impact of a sentence when you're speaking it using words like maybe. When you say, I'm just trying to help, just trying to, uh, you're trying to make it, it's not a big deal, or I'm trying to. If you say, I'm trying to help, the sentence still remains the same, but the impact is better. It's not dissolved. So you have learned to say yes. All of us Indian kids are taught to say yes, to be obedient, to be polite. And we are never taught to say no. And that is something to learn, learn to say no. Sometimes even by not giving an explanation. Most of the time when you say, hey, let's go out, and you say no, everybody wants to know the reason why. It's not necessary to explain why. And that's so important. So, for example, if you say, I'm just not in the mood, please try saying, I'm not in the mood. It's simple. And there is no ambiguity about the sentence. And keep trying until you get it right. Practice makes perfect. Yes, that makes perfect. So don't say, I suppose, or maybe I really cannot tell. Just say, I know, or I don't know. It's an honest answer. It's a direct, honest answer. So here's the thing, what happens. I tried this a lot on a lot of my male friends, and they would ask me something, so tell me this, and I would say no. And they'd be like, but why? Like, I don't believe I have to explain to you. And no is an answer. That's it. It's a response. I don't have to explain myself all the time. So the response I got from the other side was, that's rude. I said, no, that's exactly how you speak to me. And I don't think it's rude. And I'm speaking to you in the manner that you speak to me, and you find picture this. Think about it. Put it aside, right? So men are direct, and that's the reason why they are so sure and on the offensive when they say something. On the offensive is not meant in a derogatory manner. It means they're firm, they're confident, because they're saying this using vocabulary that is firm, that is powerful. And when we women use the same vocabulary, by nature of the conditioning that we have gone through life, we tend to use softer words. And it's up to our friends, our colleagues to help us on the way to changing our vocabulary. If you don't stand by each other, it doesn't work. That's how you let go. You let go of the bad vocabulary. You let go of vocabulary that makes you weak. You let go of the vocabulary that conditions you to use softer, unsure words, be it man, woman, anybody. And this is what is taking the edge away from women mostly and men as well. So when men use softer tones, what's happening is a lot of them are called, oh, you're being very metrosexual, you're being very gay. What is that supposed to mean? I mean, sexual orientation has nothing to do with your vocabulary or your mannerisms. You are who you are, and it doesn't change things. But when you speak softer, unsure words, it sends the wrong signal of being unsure. And while you may be brilliant at something, what you are projecting as a person is uh, an underconfidence in yourself, a lack of self assurance. So, uh, another example, supposing, all right, I don't know how this happens to you. When a person's asking you for a drink, let's go out for a drink from the office or from the college. Hey, you know, let's go out for a drink. What you really want to say is, thank you for the invitation, but I don't want that. That is exactly what you want to say. But most people, most women actually end up saying, It's late, maybe some other time. So what you're doing there is you're effectively telling the man or the guy that you can ask me out again at a future date. I'm not interested in having a drink with you right now, but I may be interested in the future. Is that what you really want to say? And if that is not what you really want to say, you need to change the way you speak. You need to change your vocabulary. It's not always the man's fault. You are saying something and he's taking it word for word of what you're saying. So it's taken at face value because face value is what should be honest and straight. So if it's a no, make it a no. No explanations, no reason. Sometimes even when asked for a reason, you don't really have to say anything. Just say no and keep it simple. Do not feel obliged to answer further. That causes more trouble than anything else. Trust me. Now, these modifiers in our language, in our communication, is intentionally used to soften anything that we say, especially women, and it undermines us as human beings. I'm saying it undermines us as human beings, not as women, as human beings. Please remember this, we are the same species. It becomes a part of the same performance of having to smile all the time, being nice, compliant, amiable, the first person to give in, the first to move out of the way when someone is easily coming in, trying to ram into you. You are the first person who moves up. They walk, they'll barge, they'll egg you on to move because you are expected to move aside without second thought. And this brings me to the second thing that needs changing, your feeling of obligation and guilt that you carry everywhere. You are not Atlas. Atlas is a Greek mythological person who carries the weight of the world on his shoulders. You are not Atlas. When you see a mountain, you're not supposed to carry it on your shoulders. You're supposed to climb it and then see the view. That's the difference. So when you pick something up for a long time, even if I'm picking up something as light as a pen, if I hold it like this for a minute and then another minute and then another minute without putting it down, without putting my elbow anywhere for resting, even a thing like this, which is maybe about 25 grams, is going to hurt. So don't carry guilt. Let it go. Because when you let it go, you feel lighter and the pain goes. Pain doesn't go otherwise. Keep that in mind. Right. So each of you, you know, we are so much in a hurry most of the time. And this is why we get stressed. Everybody's in a hurry. Why? Is there a race? Is there an award at the end of it? Don't stress. Stress is an imposition by those too much in a hurry to live longer. When you're in a hurry, you're not living longer, you're stressing yourself out. And maybe because of that, you might die early. Think about it. You want a long life, de stress. It's not about how many miles you run every day all the time. You need to de stress from your mind as well. Stay fit, exercise, but please have time in your hands for yourself. Experience the beauty of life. Experience the richness and the power of just simple things around you, because that's what makes your life valuable and full of worth, not things that are hung as a carrot right ahead. I'm not saying don't plan, but be in your now. That's important. Most of us, feel that we are powerless. We don't have power. But each of you, every single person listening to this, each of you is powerful beyond measure. And you are in this world to experience better things than guilt, blame, pain, obligation, oppression. No, you're not in this world to experience those. You are here to feel things that delights you, that startles you. See all that makes you feel, things that you've never felt before. Using of your senses to the best of your ability. That is what you're meant to do. If you are not proud of who you are, you can always start over. Think about it. Always start over. Let go is a sort of liberation when you look at it. We hold ourselves down far too much with a lot of obligations and a lot of other things that we carry with us. And a lot of it is guilt. Not me. I keep this thing very clear in my head. If someone has a problem, I know it sounds very rude, If someone has a problem with me, it's their problem. It's not my problem. I will not carry that worry. Everybody's coming from a different perspective. So if it's their problem, they need to resolve that problem. It's not my problem. As long as I'm not hurting someone, as long as I'm not ruining somebody's life, I'm okay. I'm good. And this is how we live our lives. We're supposed to be living our lives in a far more peaceful manner than what we give ourselves credit. So one of my favorite quotations is from Marianne Williamson, and it kind of rules my life. It's made me realize so many things on its own. And I first heard about it in a movie, and then of course I dug it out because I wanted that entire quotation, uh, and I'm going to share that with you. So I'm just going to read this out. Our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It is our light, not our darkness, that frightens us. We ask ourselves, who am I to be brilliant, gorgeous, talented, fabulous? Actually, who are you not to be? You are a child of God. If you don't believe in God, you're a child of destiny, nature, energy, whatever you want to believe. Your playing small does not serve the world. And this is for everybody who feels they're not deserving or they're not worthy. Your playing small does not help or serve the world. There is nothing enlightening about shrinking so that other people won't feel insecure around you. Let me repeat this. There is nothing enlightened about shrinking so that other people won't feel insecure around you. We are all meant to shine as children do. Have you seen kids? My God, full of energy. They don't care what anybody's thinking. They just go around doing what they need. They're curious. They are delighted by little things in life. There's a lesson right there. We are born to be so much more than who we are. And it is not in some of us, it is in each one of us. And as we let our own light shine, we unconsciously give other people permission to do the same thing. As we are liberated from our own fears, our presence automatically liberates other people. And that is basically how we talk about facing our fears. So once I finish facing our fears, I'll open up the platform for a few questions. I'll take a few questions and then discuss. So in terms of facing our fears, the truth is that we are far more afraid of shining, of becoming, of being more than what someone wants you to be. Someone will always want you to be something or the other, including our parents. That's where it starts actually. Then your grandparents, then your relatives, your brother, your sister. I mean, the whole world wants you to be something, something they want you. The truth is, you need to ask yourself, what do you want? We are too afraid of what we can do or who we can become. We prefer hiding behind our fears than courageously being brilliant. And brilliance is not about scoring marks or coming first in class. Being brilliant at just what interests us, being brilliant at just what we are passionate about. Brilliance comes in different degrees, different variants. We need to find out. We need to confront our fears and be able to face them. And there's no running away from it. You know, I am a Navy veteran. Let me tell you, I almost drowned as a child and I'm scared of water. And I spent 7 years and I even sailed. That's all about getting over your fears. Don't, you know, I realized that I could never do a backstroke in swimming because I couldn't see the water, so it was scary. I started learning swimming only when I opened my eyes and looked at the water while I was swimming. And that's how I learned how to swim. So, I mean, there are reasons things happen. I had a friend of mine who was on a road trip with me, and uh, he dropped out midway and he told me, you can go back home and drive. And I was like, how am I going to drive alone? I had never driven alone in my life. I was scared, but I did it. And now I tell me to take someone along. I'm like, no, I'd rather drive alone because I enjoy it, because I'm myself. There are no egos to feed. I have my own playlist. I'm thinking, I'm doing what I want. And that's what liberation is all about. Letting go of people, letting go of wanting somebody's support all the time, wanting someone to come along with us. You know what women do. Even when you're going to the restroom, you want someone to come along. Why don't you go alone? It's just a habit. And that continues to happen all the time. Driving solo across the country, that's what I've done in an unlocked Jeep. There's no lock in my garage, right? I just drive. And when people stop by, when people pull me over or cops pull me over, say, "Aren't you scared?" I'm like, "Why should I be scared? You're around, aren't you?" So it's about acknowledging other people's contribution to your safety. If I were to tell the cop, "Hey, I am not scared," it's a wrong attitude. You should be grateful about somebody sitting out in the sun, waiting and watching your back. And the minute you tell them that you appreciate the fact that they are out there looking out for you, they become your partners, support for your safety. And that's how life works. Being grateful really, really helps. So facing fears, don't let anybody stop. When people stop you from doing something, when I drive out, for example, they'll say, "Be safe, drive safe." There are a lot of things that we've heard bad happen. They are putting little negative things in your head. Stop them right there. Say, if you cannot say something nice or positive, I don't want to hear the thing. I get it that you care about me, but I'm not going to put something negative in my head because we manifest whatever we think. I know my bad days, how bad they go, because I manifest it when I'm thinking I am in such deep trouble. But the day I feel, no, I'm going to get through this day, I do get through. For most of us who think we are having the toughest times in our life and, you know, everything is lost, your survival percentage from the day you were born to this date is 100%. And that's the blood. That in mind, every time you feel depressed, every time you feel that you cannot do something and you have failed, no, my friend, there's so much that has happened and you have gone through that and you are here today, 100% score. That has to be important. How you handle your fear is what determines where you will go with the rest of your life. Whether you'll experience adventure or be limited by your fear of the unknown and the fear of adventure. So we need to become friends with ourselves. We are our worst enemy. And that is a huge trap. That's the worst trap you can ever be. Being my worst enemy is a trap. I was also in that trap for a long time. I didn't grow up like this. I wasn't like this 30 years ago. I wasn't like this even 40 years ago, or maybe even 35 years ago. We just changed, right? And that is how evolving happens. I'm also stating that exceptions make fine examples. They're great inspirational examples, but life is not about just uh, all time success. If you don't make mistakes, you will not gain experience. Experience only comes from making mistakes. And they're not making mistakes, they are lessons, real. And life will teach you plenty lessons all your life. And there's something very basic and essential that I was conditioned not to be a friendship with myself. And each of us have gone through this. We are always taught to be mindful of other people, to think about other people, and we stop being friends with ourselves. Be friends with yourself. You are your own longest standing love affair. Macro problem. It's a micro problem. No, it's a macro problem. We need to start being friends with us. That challenge is doable. That's the thing. It's not a problem. It's a challenge. When you think of something as a problem, it remains a problem. Then you're not part of the solution. But when you look at something as a challenge, it is doable. Mental vocabulary needs to change. That's what it depends on. Your life depends on it. Trust me. A problem will drag you down. A challenge will allow you to think differently and grow and evolve and transform. How we see things either will engage us or frustrate us. Take your pick. Yeah. So that's how it is. So it's never too late, really, to begin with. And the good news is People will tell you, a lot of things, and we will get on with the next segment. But in between, I would like to take questions now, if possible. Do we have any questions?
Yeah, hi. Are you able to hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah. So just one second, I'll take the questions. Yeah. So the first question, I guess we actually are having a lot of questions, but I'll start from the beginning. Uh, just one second. Yeah. So the first question you can see on the screen is from Manjula Reddy. Who is your inspiration, ma'am? What makes you to be here?
Ah, inspiration. I find, for me, I find every little thing in life very inspiring. Okay? Now, why I find life inspiring is because there are lessons I learn almost on everything that I see around. So I absorb a lot of things when I'm, moving around. I also negate a lot of things. I remove a lot of things that are not important for me. I just should know where to find it. It's like having a folder and knowing when to find the file, but I don't have to know everything in life, right? Um, my first inspiration in my life is my dad, who did not discriminate when I was growing up. He taught me to be secular. He taught me to not discriminate between genders, religion, caste, color, all of these things. And I think that's very inspiring. I have a few teachers who were very, very inspiring. My teacher, Renu Mehra from school, I was going through a very tough time as a teenager, and she's the one who encouraged me to write. So I owe that to her. Then there was a sister, Marie Cecilia. She was the other person who encouraged me to write. There was a sister, Mary Doyle, who taught me not to litter. And I don't litter. It's a simple thing. We don't litter. We don't drop things on the road because this is my country. And in nowhere in the world will I litter. I will find a dustbin before I dump something. These are people who have inspired me. My mother has inspired me differently, not while she was alive, actually. I began to think about her much more, I think, after she passed away. But I realized I'm more of my mother's daughter as well, as much as I am of my father's daughter. So, we carry a piece of our parents with us. We carry pieces of our teachers, friends who have inspired me, and books have inspired me a lot. My experiences in travel has inspired me. So all of these things, my mentors when I was in the Navy, people inspired me all the time. And it can even be a small child for that. It can come from any. I hope that answers your question.
Yeah.
And I want to mention here, ma'am, sorry to interrupt you, sir. Uh, Sandhya ma'am is one of my inspiration now. Actually, for the past 2 years, I've from since last year when I get connected with her, then she is constantly becoming my inspirational source. And I have attended her three of TEDx talks and all of your sessions. I'm constantly watching.
Thank
You
you.
guys
Thank you so
also
much.
should hear. Thank you.
Yeah, and
Yes.
after today's session, I'll also start following ma'am because I found your works very much inspirational. And yeah, so moving forward to the next question.
Now, sorry, sir. Sorry to
Yeah,
interrupt you. Actually, I am sharing the panel with two of my most inspirational resources. I got inspired with Bhushan sir also. They're constantly motivating me for organizing the events and all. They are my constant inspiration source. Thank you, sir.
thank you so much, Piyush. And yeah, so moving forward to the
So,
next question. Yeah, yeah, ma'am.
Srivani Tirunagari,
Yeah. So I'll
how
read
you
it out for you.
overcome, is that the
Ma'am, how
question?
you, I'll read it out for you. It's by Srivani. It's, ma'am, how you overcome the obstacles in present generation. What inspires you to be strong on the track of selected for your way to be an inspirational icon?
Okay, I'll tell you, it's about acknowledging that there are only two truths really in life that you have. The first truth is that you will die one day. You cannot deny it, you cannot run away from it. And your second is that there will always be change. So, to be able to adapt yourself in terms of any generation that you are in, that is important. So, and we all do that. It's just that some of us are too scared of change, so we try to resist as much as we can. Transformation is necessary. And transformation, the quicker you transform and adapt, the quicker you are, at being at pace with the world. And I'm not saying being at pace with the world means following everything that the world does. I don't think that's important. It's important to follow your own self-belief system. But in terms of, overcoming the obstacle in present generation, in any generation for that matter, what you need to do is, when you are communicating, you need to be at the same wavelength. If you're tuning into FM 91.1 and I'm talking on 92.7, we are not on the same wavelength. Both of us need to be on 91.1 to be able to communicate. That's how it is. Let me give you an example. If you're talking to a small child and you're standing and talking to the child is not going to listen to you. There's a defiance there. They're like, oh my God. They're looking up first of all and they're like, I'm not interested in talking. I don't like this person. But the minute you bend down on your knees and are at the same height of the child and you try and speak to the child is gone. That is what comes. And that's how I think obstacles are all about being aware of your surroundings and picking on what works and testing it out over and over again. What works, what doesn't work. It's basically what am I supposed to teach you guys? You guys are all engineers. It's all tried and tested stuff, right? You keep testing things until they work. That's exactly how it is.
To the next question. So I guess the next question is Manjula is done. Yeah, it is by Upendra Reddy. What are the most important attributes of successful leaders today?
Upendra, I am going to push this question to the last because I am going to be talking about leadership and success. And I'm pretty much sure that at least 70% of your questions will be answered then. And whatever remains, I'll take it up. So please park that question, Piyush. I will take this up.
So I guess this also question will be done in the
Same
end, right?
thing. Same
Same
thing.
thing.
This comes,
Sure,
anything about
sure.
leadership will come at the end. Same
This
thing.
thing.
Visheshwar Singh, same.
Uh, yeah,
What
I
was
guess
the strong belief which makes overcross all obstacles in life to be successful in this present world? Your belief in yourself. That's
should we
it.
go
Your
for the
belief
next?
in
Same.
yourself. How can we master the art of letting go? What is the unique thought in your mind when you listen to a word? Leadership and the art of letting go. All right. How do you master the art of letting go is about, there are four ways. I follow the philosophy of Ikigai. It's a Japanese philosophy and which deals with the four aspects of your life that needs to come to a balance point. All right. One is, and basically Ikigai means your reason for being, your purpose basically in life, right? And when we do that, what you need to be doing is something that you're passionate about, something that you're skilled at. It's a Venn diagram with four circles, let's put it that way. All right. Something that you're skilled about, passionate about, something that can bring you money. That means your career. You following the career in a path which your skill is there and your passion is there. And that is what you take up as a career. But that is only going to get you money. Beyond that is that same thing needs to be that something that the world requires from you as a person. What is your purpose in life? And that sweet spot right in the center, which culminates with intersection of all four circles, I'm just explaining to you as mathematically as possible as I can. That intersection in the center is that sweet spot called Ikigai, which gives you your reason for being. The day you find your reason for being, everything else will become unimportant. Everything else you will just let go because you know what? You're not going to take anything with you, anything. But what you leave behind is what you will leave behind. And that is going to be your thought process, your belief system, what impact you had on the world, and how people recollect you as a person. Everything else, your bank balance, everything will be forgotten, trust me. The impact you leave on the world is something that you will need to carry. So, how to master the art of letting go is don't hold on to things. You have to ask yourself things that is this going to affect me greatly in my life? Am I going to die because I don't have this? Am I going to become, disabled if I don't have this? And if the answer is no, let go.
Ma'am, if
The
it is
lighter
if
baggage.
Sorry to interrupt you, ma'am. If it is required, I can share the screen that Ikigai diagram.
No, no,
Should
no,
I?
that's okay. No, no, I think, look, I don't want everything handed out on a platter to people. That is what makes them lazy.
Mm.
Let them go look for it. That's
Oh,
better, you know.
yeah,
So
sure.
put your soul into your work and in whatever you do. Be passionate about it, be in the now, and you can let go of your past and your future. Your future is going to be built in your now. But if you're not in your now, it's not building. But the past is your rearview mirror. Don't hang on to that. It's gone. You may revisit it once in a while and feel nostalgia, and that's all the value it has. And what is the unique thought in your mind when you listen to a word, leadership and art of letting go? I'm going to ask this question to each of you later. I think this question is for the audience rather than not me, really. Next.
Okay. So yeah, this is very rightly answered. And right now, in the current situation, there is a lot of need of people to learn the art of letting go. So next question is from Atharva Bhaviskar. Do personality traits make any difference in the role of leadership? For example, extroverted and introverted person.
Yes, it does. Why I'm saying it makes a difference, it impacts differently is because how you perceive uh, something that is, to be done. Your manner, the manner in which you work will be different. Introverted people work differently. They work function better when they are literally on their own. They work better with small groups. There are also people who are empaths. It's surprising, right? Extroverts are too busy, socializing, and they find their energy in that. Introverts find energy looking within, and extroverts literally find their energy thriving when there are a crowd of people just, around them. And so the manner of leadership is different, but the path that you still need to take is still the value base is the same. Leadership is all about knowing, when to pass it, when to let go. When we say let go, this is something that will get explained when we talk about leadership, when I talk about it a little ahead. So, yeah, Atharva, I'm going to answer you. Your answers will come to you a little later when I'm talking about how to overcome the fear in ourselves and introduce ourselves to the world. What is fear going to give? The question is, what are you going to give to yourself? Fear, adventure. Introduce yourself to the world every day. Begin by looking at the mirror and saying, hey, you're going to be good today. You're going to make this work. And that's how you overcome your fear. You're just shy. You don't want to be laughed at. You don't want to be made fun of. And that's half the reasons why we don't do things. And the other half is, of course, three words that has destroyed everything. Log kya kahenge. You're too worried about what other people say. Forget it. People have a way of gossiping. Have a way of putting their nose into everybody's business. And then they will find some other business to put their nose in. It will pass. Don't worry about that. Do what you need to do. Only you know where your shoe pinches and where it hurts and where your blister is. Overcome that first. That is you, yourself. Beyond that, it's their problem. They are having a problem digesting the fact that you're going to be brilliant and successful and gorgeous and beautiful and handsome and, whatever you want to be. It is none of their business and it's their problem if they have a problem. You just go out and be brilliant and just do what. Don't worry about people laughing at you. They're only laughing at themselves because they don't have the courage to do that themselves. And they will stop you from doing it because that courage is not there with them. And their fears are coming from their own experiences. Please remember that. Their fears are not coming from the experiences that you've had. Their fears come from the experience that they have had. That's the reason why most parents protect their children so much because they've been through something and they don't want their children to experience the same. You cannot define somebody's life like that. Even teenagers. I've seen parents being overtly protective about their kids and saying, nahi, nahi, kuch ho jayega to. But then, hello, what did you do when you were that age? You were out on the streets all the time. And then they'll say, Arey, wo time alag tha, that time was different. No, times are still the same. It's just the tech that is catching up with us. But that doesn't change things. The fears are more of people's fears than your own fears. And because people keep feeding that fear into your head, you allow it to fester. Don't allow fear to fester, allow positivity to fester, allow good things to fester in your life, and that will get manifest. What you throw out into the universe will come back. My problem is I don't throw out money to the universe, that never comes back. But I throw out everything else and it comes back. That's how it
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. So next question is kind of interesting for me. It's how do one master patience in the act of leadership?
Again, Yusuf, I'm going to, this is Ade Kunle. Kunle, I'm going to answer this later, all right, when I'm done with the leadership segment. Anything that has leadership in it, please push it for later.
So I don't know if this is the question you want to take. It's about you.
What is my strength and my weakness? All right. My strength is my self belief system. That's my strength. My vulnerability is my strength. My weakness is procrastination, like anybody else's. I procrastinate a lot. My weakness is also wanting to do too many things at the same time, uh, you know, because I have only one life. So I do multiple things at the same time. And that I think it becomes at some point a weakness because you're not really specializing in something. So I'm jack of all trades and master of jack. That's it. There's no master of some or master of one thing. I'm just living through life. I'm just experiencing life. Thank you, Nidhi. Can we move on with this? Then we can come back to the questions so you'll know whether those questions have been answered.
So there are a lot of questions. So we
Sure.
can go ahead with the next one, and we can take the
Yeah.
question later.
All right.
Yeah,
Okay.
fine. Yes, sir.
So, like I was saying, and like all your questions have, you know, more or less come to the same point. It is never too late to begin. And that is the good news. People will tell you you're too old, too fat, too short, too young, too feminine, too abrupt, too bold, too loud, too soft, too fragile, too strong, too rude, courageous, pretty, beautiful, handsome, successful. That list is endless and it will go on and on. It does not need to worry you. Please don't let it worry. It is other people's list. Remember this. Please remember this and pay careful attention. It is other people's list about your capacity, about your capability, and the idea of who you are. It is not yours. It is their perspective. Don't let that perspective become, your life. You are more than that. That's not who you are. You are the sum total of who you were until now, but that is still unfinished. What you become is up to you, and that is the scope you have. So you have a scope of taking chances, you have a scope of making choices, and you have a scope of being your own change and making an impact and making a difference. That is up to you. There are no rules to being your human self as a human being, to being yourself, to experiencing love, to being compassionate, to being kind and good, to being tough or even vulnerable. There are no rules. Rules are what we are making. The society makes rules because they like a certain amount of routine and they like a certain amount of control and you know but whatever is there we can make the best of ourselves. That choice is ours. So you may not be controlling everything that happens in your life. I mean, it's impossible to control everything that happens in your life, but you can decide for yourself uh, not to be diminished by it, not to be made small by it, not to be reduced. That is in your control. And don't be dismayed and dejected by the world around you, by being seeing things that are sad and broken and allowing it. It's good to feel, it's good to see. Trust me, all empaths do that, especially. And all things that break can mostly be mended. Most of the things we think they can't be mended. Do you know why there's so much trash around, lying around? Big, huge landfills of garbage all around the world, especially in cities, even in India. That trash mountain is telling you something. It tells you that the minute we find something breaking, we replace it instead of trying to fix it. instead of trying to repair it and use it over and over. You're, you are wearing clothes and you might get a small tear in it, and you will decide to replace it with something else and say, "Nahi, wo phat gaya, I'm not going to wear it. It's gone." But we will refuse to mend it, repair it, and wear it because of that little stitch that is going to be there that shows that it has been repaired, because someone is going to laugh at it. That's the reason why we replace even our clothes so often. Try repairing it. You are not going to add to the garbage of the past. You're going to actually mend it. And these mends are not with time alone, by the way. Even yourself as a person. Most of these mends are with intention. Intent is very, very powerful and very important. So here's something I want you to do even while you're listening to me, because our thoughts have the power to make us or break us. And sometimes we keep wishing for things, right? And the universe listens. The universe is listening. Whether you agree to it or not, it is the energy around. And you may say, you know what, this is what everybody tells me all the time, and nothing happens. Intent is powerful, intent is necessary, and the intent also needs to be heard by them. So here's a little exercise I want you to do. I want you to take a sheet of paper, your diary, memo, whatever you have around you, just grab it and write down the alphabet A to Z. Okay, A to Z, just write it down. So as and when you feel a thought coming to you which is positive, write it down. These are intents. Okay, these are affirmations of thought. Keep writing it down, whatever starts with each alphabet. So if you find something that's starting with H, write it down in H. If you find something that's starting in B, write it down. So by the end of this session, you would have at least A to Z of intent, positive intent. I don't want anything negative in it. Don't write the words can't, won't, don't. No. Use positive words and write it down, and let's see where we get at the end of it. So that's one exercise I'm giving you while I'm talking. You have to also write down these things even while and try and see where we get to that. So that's another thing that we're parking aside. The most important thing that you can do for yourself is love yourself. We let our lives be dictated by our past experiences and our fear of the unknown. I actually just made an Instagram about this. We are meant to survive beyond our own narratives. हमारी story जो लिखनी है ना, we write our own stories. It is best when you're writing your stories that the pen that writes the story is in your own hand for your story. Don't give it to someone else to write your story. You can never do it justice. But you need to write your own story and ensure that that pen that writes the story is in your own hands. So don't give up on your dreams, don't give up on your aspirations, even when people laugh at you. It does not matter. Remember this. It does not matter how far you go off in the wrong direction. There is always an opportunity to take a U-turn. Don't say it's too late. It's never too late to take a U-turn. It's like being on the road, right? You've gone out kilometers and kilometers on the wrong road. If you continue to say, hey, I'll find my way somewhere out from this, sometimes you come to a dead end. But if you take a U-turn and go back to where you started and begin again, it's a much better thing. And that choice is yours to make. You can always turn it around. That choice is yours. And more important, remember, not making a choice is also a choice. You have chosen to not make a choice. And you have chosen to remain in the same situation. Well, I tell myself that also. I'm not superhuman, trust me. I'm just a very ordinary person who goes through these struggles every day without fail. But I just choose to do it in a manner that keeps me uh, more than just survive. It keeps me positive, keeps me in a space of uh, being a better person, or at least trying to. So don't blame anyone else for what you are doing. Don't blame anyone else for the where you are at right now. Those were your choices too. Sometimes, you are in a situation, and in retrospect, we will keep feeling guilty about why did I do that. But when you made that choice, probably that was the only option you had. Don't blame yourself for that. When I look back and I look back at the 20-year-old, Sandhya who was in college, I can find a lot of faults, a lot of efforts gone wrong, a lot of decisions wrongly taken. But I'm not being fair to myself then, because I was 20 then. Now I'm not. And this is basically a 49-year-old trying to judge a 20-year-old. Not fair. Don't give yourself that gift, because then you will start festering on regret and other things. It's not, life is not worth if you're only regretting things for the most of. So all that petty rudeness, running after things that don't matter, and it's really not important. Be kind. Say I love you when you mean to. Sometimes you think it in your head, but you don't tell them. If you go, mera mazak uda lengi, want to make fun of something or don't just say it. It doesn't mean I have to get into a relationship with that person just because I said I. It's not necessary. Never thought of that. Love and relationships are two very different things. Don't put off until tomorrow what you can do today. Procrastination, my biggest weakness. I know I struggle with it every day, but that is what I'm telling you. Don't put off until it's too late. And so it goes for telling someone how grateful you are for their presence in your life or how important they are in people like to feel appreciated. Don't you like to feel? If you are someone who likes to be appreciated and acknowledged, please remember it's the same with everyone else. Don't lose sight of something that's very important. This is your story, however. That pen that needs to be it needs to be in your hands. You cannot let someone else write your story for you. I keep saying this and repeating it again. You cannot let anyone write your story for you. You are your own priority. Nobody else will place you first as much as you can place yourself. And that comes with love. You are going to be with yourself for the rest of your life. Think about it. Why would you not love yourself? Keep giving people chances all the time. Why would you not give yourself? So I was someone who quietly did when I was younger. I was someone who did quietly whatever was asked of me. I was very obedient. This is what probably upsets my father a lot, is that I am not that obedient girl anymore. And at several turns of my life, I was exposed to the fact that people wanted me to be a certain someone as per their comfort. Their comfort ke hisab se I had to fester my way around. And I was not paying attention to myself. Heck, I don't even pay attention to myself completely even now. I'm always a work in progress on that, even when I'm telling you stuff. And because I wasn't paying attention to myself, I was not happy. Happiness is overrated. That's my next thing. And that's when I realized that your inner joy comes from self awareness and the strength it brings. When you are internally happy, it will only come when you're self aware and when you are happy, finding joy with yourself. Don't look for happiness in some other person. Look for it within yourself first. Within. Don't run after it elsewhere. Look, look into yourself. You have the ability. You have every ability to take charge of your life. You think you do not because of decades and decades of conditioning. Please remember that. If you're 20, you've had 20 years of conditioning. If you're 25, you've had 25 years of conditioning. If you want something to change, and it can change, let me give you a very simple example. And please think about this. All right. 7 plus 4 is 11. And that's exactly what will come if you continue to do things in the same manner. And this is a note to self as well. Okay? Telling myself over and over the same thing. When you do things over and over the same manner, the result is always going to be the same, isn't it? It's like a mathematical equation. 7 plus 4, simple equation. 7 plus 4 is an 11. And if you continue to do it in the same manner, however you're supposed to get a different answer. But the minute you change one thing in that equation, if you do a 7 minus 4, get a 3. So you change something in that pattern to get a different result. And that's all it is. So, I mean, you guys are engineers, so I'm kind of explaining to you, which is probably understandable for you. You have to change some part of that drama for it to make sense. And that is how it can change. Change is very difficult also. I'm not saying it's easy. It has never been easy. And it gets really, really messy in the middle. Let me tell you that it is not pleasant. Change is always uncomfortable. It's going to get really messed up in the middle of it, and you're going to wonder, why did I even think about changing myself? That's when it's messy. But trust me, when you come to the end of it, it's absolutely gorgeous. Absolutely gorgeous. That's, and that is what is important. Your own wellness, mental, spiritual, emotional, not just physical. So those of you who hit the gym all the time, try hitting your senses as well. Try hitting your emotional sense as well. Try hitting your spiritual sense as well. Try hitting your mental sense as well. Because all of these things are important for an overall wellness more than anything else. And I'm telling myself that same thing, okay, because I hate the gym. Even while I'm sitting and I'm telling I hate the gym, because I worked out when I was young, I worked out in groups and teams. And I didn't work out in the gym. We were out playing. And I don't play anymore, so I don't stay fit anymore. But then I've got my other medical complications or whatever is there. But that's not an excuse. But the mental battle I have every morning, let me admit and tell you, is I wake up in the morning and I tell myself, get up, go for a walk. And the other part of my saying, not today. I just want to sleep in a little longer. That's the mental conversation battle I have this morning. But the day I wake up and actually go for a walk, I kind of enjoy it. And then the next morning I wake up and I'm back on the same conversation and I kick myself for it as well. I am just as human and as flawed as any of us around. There is no perfection. There are only perfect moments. Please remember that. Wellness and fitness are two very different things. Remember, wellness is from the neck up. It's all in your head. It's all in your heart. Neck up. Heart is of course here. We continue to we continue to say, my heart. Heart is here, right up. If you look at the physiology part of it, we all keep thinking hearts are this way. Fitness is from the neck down. Fitness, wellness, and both need to be in balance. For me, this is cool. This not so cool. It's a struggle every day, and I'm struggling. But that's what life is about. You don't give up. Both needs to get functional. Too many people work out every day, but move around with the worst of attitude. You meet them, don't you? I meet them all the time. And what's the point of it? If you work out at the gym and get a great body, but move around with a bad attitude, it's not helping. Have a positive attitude so you do not waste your physical efforts. That's more important. If you're working out on the gym to have a great body for 4 hours in a day and you're having a bad attitude, you're actually wasting your efforts at the gym. Your effort to have a great attitude as well as a fit workout at the gym so you look good and you also have a good attitude, that will probably get you better. So let me come back to the other part, the next point that I have. So all of this is part of letting go and understanding yourself and absorbing yourself on who you are. Please don't fall asleep. I hope not. The next thing segment I would like to talk about is body shaming. Yeah, well, you didn't expect me to talk about that. Yeah, we're all talking about letting go, and now suddenly body shaming. How is that coming into conversation? Well, body shaming is. I'm bringing this up just before I dive right into leadership. Okay. So after I finish the body shaming segment, then we will just have a short question answer on non-leadership questions, and then we will move on to leadership, which is the third segment. Body shaming is not okay. What do you mean by body shaming? Body shaming is when you're not happy with yourself, of who you look at in the mirror, and you're only looking at the flaws that you have on your body. How many of you can stand in front of a mirror and stare at yourself, stare at your body, and smile? Will you do that? That's the question. I am grossly overweight right now, but I still smile. I can still look at myself in the eye and say, hey, you're gorgeous. Now, why do I do that? You know, body shaming is not okay. when you are criticizing yourself and criticizing other people, that is not okay, because we grow up trying to fit into someone else's idea of beauty, someone else's idea of what is handsome and what is good looking. And then you keep wondering कि, what you say in Hindi is ऐसे चोमू आदमी को इतनी सुंदर लड़की कैसे मिले. We say that sometimes. You find, the least good looking chap has got the most beautiful wife in the world. How does that work out? So what is beauty? When we are looking at ourselves, why are we trying to fit ourselves into someone else's aspect of beauty or someone else's idea of beauty? Of fair, flawless skin. What it does is, I'll tell you what it does. When you are looking at a certain amount of beauty, which is fair, flawless skin with no scars and slim and trim and, high heeled shoes and boots, and I'll tell you what is being helped. Who are you helping when you do that? You are helping the beauty industry make money. That's what you do. You are helping to make the beauty industry make money. It does nothing for you. It does nothing for your self confidence. It does nothing for your uh, self esteem. Truth is, you are beautiful inside. I do photography. It's one of my passions apart from whatever else I do. I do photography, and I prefer photographing people with no makeup, women, men. But what I try to capture in that photography is the beauty, the real person that's behind all the made up pretenses and the masks that we keep putting on, layer after layer after layer. We forget who we are. So my aim when I do candid pictures is always about finding that real person behind whatever mask you're wearing. We fret over being too thin, too fat, too skinny, too busty, too much of everything. Our physical body shaming is only helping profit people who want you to believe you're not perfect. Let me repeat that. Our physical body shaming is only helping other people profit by making you believe that you're not perfect. So you go about trying to get your Botox done, go trying to do things to yourself all the time. And that's how the beauty industry makes money, a lot of money. There are no perfections except perfect moments. And you create those moments as a person, as a human being, as a soul. Please enjoy those. That's when you start being awed by everything around, being inspired by things around. A dewdrop can even inspire. The setting sun can inspire. A star in the sky can inspire. A breeze can inspire. Animals can inspire. So many things can inspire. When you stop worrying about how you look in someone else's idea, fitment of you. Everybody wants to put you in a slot, shell. No, don't. Refuse to be there. Why should you be in a box? Why would you edit? Okay, so here's the thing. We use a lot of filters. And in the tech world, what has happened now with Instagram and Snapchat? Yes, I am on Snapchat, I am on Instagram. I do all of that. But I don't let it cover up who I am as a person. There are so many apps now available, so many applications that can make you look beautiful. It changes you into thin, it changes you into fair, it removes all the blemishes on your face. All of these things are possible, yes, but is that who you are? You can edit your physical appearance. All those things are available, but what it makes you becomes, your life becomes unreal. Being on the grid has made your life unreal. You need to get back to reality. Reality is about not being perfect, but about having parts that are excellent. You cannot be an expert in everything. There will be gaps. I'm not an expert at plants, let me just tell you. It's the biggest pit that I can be in. I can't handle finance, I can't handle accounts, but I can handle other stuff. So that's the expertise I have. Someone else is great at finance. That's their expertise. Allow someone else. And that's how we will end up getting into the next segment that we are there. So one person's skill is another person's inadequacy, but it does not mean that they are inadequate for everything. That is how teams are made of. That will bring us to the next segment, which we're going to be talking about leadership and team building and stuff. So if you have questions now, this is the second segment that's over. If you have questions, let's hear it, except the leadership questions, which we will take up after I'm done with the part about being a leader. Now I'm going to just bring all of what we talked about together and explain to you what leadership should be about. But before that, I'll just take questions. Piyush, do we have questions? How do you overcome the failures which you faced in your life? Can you please share it on how to convert it to success? So usually what happens is success is somebody else's measurement. When we look at success in terms, in commercial terms or in terms of worldview, we are looking at it in terms of career success, in terms of success that is defined by society. But is that what success is all about? Success is basically about fulfilling your own dreams. That is success. You fulfill your dreams. If you check off things from your bucket list, things to do before you die. How do you overcome the failures? One, because I don't look at them as failures. First of all, my perspective is very different on things that I do. I call them lessons that need learning, and I learn them every day. So how do you overcome failures which were faced in your life? Overcoming it is that my life is, I have only one life. I don't know whether I'm going to be guaranteed them. I need to live this one then. I need to make something out of it. I need to be, I need to put my soul into my work, into whatever I do, even if it's one tiny thing. Oh, that doesn't mean I don't burn stuff. I burn stuff, yes. But that's the nice part about being human. You're prone to mistakes, but you're prone to lessons as well. So overcoming failures is by, I overcome them by not lingering in them all the time. If I failed at something, and I will not sit and cry over it. I give myself 20 minutes. So here's how I do it. Here's a secret. I am constantly depressed. Think about it. I'm supposed to be inspiring people, but I'm constantly depressed. What do I do? How do I consolidate that? So I get, for example, pain. So this you can deal with pain, grief, heartbreak, relationship woes, career woes, uh, depression, mental illness, all of this. Try and do this little exercise. So when I'm upset with myself or I am depressed or in pain about something, I set an appointment with myself and say, hey, I need 20 minutes of your undivided attention on this particular thing. All right. Let me give, for example, a very human thing about, say, pain of a breakup. It's going to last. That pain is going to last for a while, right? So here's what I do. I set an appointment with myself for 20 minutes. Now, because I'm grieving and I want to howl and I want to cry, I will howl my heart out for 20 minutes. And then the alarm goes off. Appointment time over. You pack it up and say, hey, I'll see you tomorrow. Your appointment for today is over. Put it aside. That grief is not going anywhere. You know it, it's not running away. The pain is not going anywhere. You will meet it again. But for the rest of the day, I'm doing what I need. The next day, that 20 minutes of appointment may happen, may not happen, but I will limit it to 20 minutes. Let me tell you, when you cry over things, when you're regretting things, when you regret it for 20 minutes, it's acceptable. Anything beyond that, you are bringing this upon yourself. You yourself are your problem at that point. You are becoming your worst enemy when you allow it to linger beyond 20 minutes. It's okay to feel sorry for yourself. It's okay to fall down. It's not okay to stay fallen. You have to get up, dust your knees, and get about doing what you need to do, and revisit it 20 minutes tomorrow again. That's okay. Appointment le lena, do it, get it over and done. And that appointment can last for months by the That's also true. Because sometimes, when we hurt other people, we just hurt them. We don't get to decide how long they're going to be hurting or how deeply they are hurt. So when you want to convert your time into success, or how to convert it into success, that's what it is. Divide up the negative time, give it an appointment, and just get it over and done. The nasty part of your day is done. Move on with the important stuff. And being sad and being dejected and being grievous, while it's important part of you, of who you are, you need to uh, you need to put a hold on it. You need to put it into an environment which is there, acceptable for a length of time. Beyond that, do not go beyond on a day-to-day basis. I mean, that works for me. It works differently for everyone. Let me tell you, every single person, whether it's their success, whether it's their happiness, whether it's their love life, we are all on a different time clock. Everybody's time clock is different. Just because we all learn the same subjects in school and we're expected to score 100%, which I don't know how we are expected to do, but it works, right? In school, you have 10 subjects and you're expected to get 100 marks in every subject. What is that logic? There are 10 expert teachers teaching you those 10 expert subjects, but one child who's learning is expected to become an expert in all those subjects. I don't know that. There's no logic to it. And I've been a teacher. That was my first job. No kid in my class got run over just because they were weak in something or being brilliant in another that they had down marks. Iske achhe nahi. I was more concerned about whether they've actually understood the concept or not. Anyway, I'm digressing. Next question. I hope I've answered. What was the most important skill you acquired in my younger years? Uh, the most important skill I think I acquired in my younger years is patience. The ability to assess things around me and absorb it before I do something. I think I've become more impulsive now compared to what I used to be. I used to think over things, be very patient about answering them. I wouldn't lose my temper for minutes. But when I lost it, I lost it. But that was very effective. But yeah, that was the most important thing. Patience. What, how can we make ourselves comfort, strong, fearless once we get on the stage in front of all? Okay, there are two tricks to this. Okay, the first time I got on stage as an adult, I was in the Naval Academy and I was asked to become the most important character. There were two important characters in the play. We were doing a play called The King and I was given the role of the governess, which is one of the most important character apart from the king, right, in the play. And I remember telling them, listen, I have never been on stage. This is going to get messed up. It was a competition, so you can imagine. I can't remember my lines, and I have never been on stage. I'm frightened. I'm too scared, and I can't. They said, listen, nobody's asking you whether you have a choice or not. You are going to. So that's the thing. When you're pushed to a corner, you have to end up doing something, right? You have to face it. That's how it is. And I used to be wearing glasses. It's a little convenient. For those who wear glasses, just take them off. Remove your glasses. You will not see anyone in the audience. So basically, people just disappear from your eyes and you just do what you need to do. Go out and say your stuff, do your bit, and get back up. That's one. Second thing was some wise person told me, if you're too nervous about the audience or the person sitting in front of you, imagine them naked. It's a little extreme, I know. But you know what that does for you? You are in your back of your mind is saying, haha, that person sitting in front of me, not wearing, and I'm wearing clothes, so I'm calm at an advantage situation. And That's how you get on stage and you do it in front of an audience. But what I realized is on that once I finished that play that day, I realized that I loved the stage. I could speak for hours altogether. I can handle 100 people. I can handle 200. I can handle 1,000 people on, in front of me, and I'm okay with it. I don't have a problem. As long as they don't ask me to do comedy. I'm very bad stand-up comedy. I'm not a comedian at all. I can crack jokes at myself, but it gets really, really, the flat kind of joke. Yeah. Next question. Does letting go every time which is not of your concern, which is about the person, affect your relations with the same? Yes, it will. So here's the thing. When you are on a path of making something out of yourself, there will be people in your path who will need to understand. You need to have the communication, you need to have the conversation. But if they're asking you to make a choice between what you need to do for yourself and what they demand of you, please choose yourself. It may sound very selfish, but the truth is that if you cannot stand up for yourself, don't expect someone else to stand up for that. So it will affect relations, but what is a relationship anyway? A relationship is a give and take. If a person is a sincere friend and they believe they're doing things for for your happiness, you know what your happiness is supposed to be, most of all, rather than the other person. They're meant to stand by you, not meant to run you over, not meant to pull you down. They need to see both sides of the perspective. And if they are not, give it space. Allow yourself to be. Those who are meant to be in your life, those who are meant to stand by you will always stand by you. They won't judge you. But those who are judging and calling you selfish, and sometimes it happens in the path to find yourself, you will find that a lot of relationships, a lot of friendships uh, get affected. And there's a fine balance that one needs to create with it. It's a touch and go, it's a learning process, trust me. And every experience is different. Every experience is different. All I can say is when someone is asking you to do something which really is not something that you want to do, if you want to let go of something, uh, you need to allow that person to either grow with you, walk with you, or let go. When people say you are letting them go, but when you say you are not letting them go, there's a there are truths to it, right? There is their truth, there is your truth, and there is the truth. What are we talking? So that can make a lot of difference. That makes a lot of difference in a manner that uh, you know uh, relationships, if they are strong and they have a great foundation, they will stick around. Trust me, the friend who ditched me midway through a road trip, can you imagine how mad I was at him? I'm still friends with him. I'm still friends with him, despite him ditching me that. It's okay. But there are certain things I've let go, but I still maintain that relationship. But I don't confide in that person anymore, not to the degree that I would want to, or wanted to, or did. But because it's a very long-standing friendship, it has withstood a lot of things. And I think in this entire point of letting go, we have given each other space as friends, as individuals to grow in our own right. And not just because I wanted him to grow in a certain manner or he wanted him to grow in a certain manner. When we get married or when we have a partner, relationship partner with us, that is where we keep control of it. What is the worst situation that you have ever faced? I think the one in which I actually had to really be uh, really handle things. That would be probably the day I got mugged. So there were robbers robbing an apartment. They came out, were pretty high. I was stuck in traffic on the opposite side. I was driving home alone. It was about 9:15 in the evening in the January 2000. they saw a red car in between a lot of yellow cars. And they saw I was a foreigner. This is in Nigeria. Month. I was attacked, and I would have died if I had not pretended to play dead. That thing. So of course, I ended up with two broken ribs and a lot of cut on my face. I was bleeding on my face. But I realized I can't fight people who are beyond control. They have a revolver. I have nothing. I was dragged out of my car and I was left on the road to die. They thought I was dead. That's the thing. I pretended to play dead. I had to stop my breath no matter what the pain. I just sat there. I was lying on the floor without moving an inch. I stopped breathing. They checked. And that's when they thought that I had passed out and I was dead. And it was only after they left that I got up. And that saved my life. That was the worst situation I have ever faced. But however, so that is probably more about having, you know, sense enough to do that by reflex, having good reflexes, or having the presence of mind to handle. But my worst situation is probably it's about losing everything that I have, of coming to absolute zero in terms of finance and funding, uh, of having literally no money, living on a day-to-day basis, and I'm going through it every day. It's not I'm not overtly rich. Ye shakal don't go by the space. I don't have a huge bank account or a bank balance, but I'm wealthy. There's a difference in that. I have a wealth of people I know, people that I really appreciate, people I look up to. That is my wealth. Because you know what? I can carry it anywhere I want it. My bank account numbers are only reason. That's not the only reason for my life. So yeah. Worst situations, I think, is being financial now more than anything else. Of course, almost everyone else now is undergoing the financial issues because of the pandemic. Some of us are adapting, some of us are not, some of us are still struggling, and it's okay. It's okay to admit, and it's okay to struggle. It will get you something. Thank you, Manjula. All right, are we moving on to leadership now? Or do we have, how do you keep calm mind even if I ignore some anxious situation as an activity? So are we talking about, so I have a question, Komal. Are we talking about anxiety, or are we talking about keeping a cool head when something goes wrong? So can you just clarify that? So if you're talking about anxiety, then there are ways to deal with it. So how can I avoid arguments? Basically, learn how to let go no matter whatever happens. Arguments won't really get you what you want. Argument is about trying to prove your point. Is there a reason? That's the first part. Like if I say I am apolitical, for example, and I don't support the current ruling party, it does not mean I automatically support the opposite party. Right? That's an assumption. If I argue, I'm only losing relationships. Sometimes I don't feel the need to explain myself. You know, avoiding arguments is when you, so the word argument is more about being defensive, about being on a path where you want your point to be proven. You can avoid arguments by actually having a conversation. So when someone gets angry, for example, or you don't like something that someone else is doing, you don't necessarily begin to hate the person. You hate what they are doing. So the point is to target your conversation towards how it makes you feel when a person behaves in a certain way. So if someone is not communicating with me, okay, for example, let me give you a very real life situation. Some of you, for example, you've gone out on a date, all right? You're seeing someone and it's getting serious, but in between there's no communication, all right? So what do you do? Are you going to blame you are not communicating, you are not doing this, you're not doing that? You're blaming someone. But that's not the right thing, because that comes across as a fact that you don't like the person. But the truth is, what you want to address there is how it makes you feel. You're upset because it gives you a certain feeling when someone doesn't communicate. So what you need to actually tell the person is, when you do not communicate with me, it upsets me. It makes me feel that I'm being ignored. That is how you avoid your arguments, by not blaming someone, but by trying to address the issue at hand. And for that, communication is important. Communication is not about blaming someone. Communication is about explaining to someone how it makes you feel, how someone's behavior makes you feel. And the best way to avoid an argument is to hear the other person out completely and say, now, is there anything else you want to add? Keep asking, keep asking, keep asking. Finally, when they say, no, I have nothing more to add, may I talk now? May I speak? And then allow that person to speak out, to vent. Now you have your chance to do it. Sometimes you don't even get a chance. What do you get? Then you need to communicate. Listen. So if you're speaking and the person is not listening to you, you can write. Remember, communication is read, write, speak. Use it. Body language. If someone is standing and arguing with you, the best way to calm them down is ask them to sit down and give them a glass of water. If someone is doing this in body language, that means they're closing themselves. They are defensive. What you need to do in terms of handling the person is to open up their arms. And how do you do that? By asking them to hold on to something. Give them a glass of water. That is why when we get very upset and when we're crying, we tell the person, drink some water. That's because when you're hiding, when you don't want to share, this is your fist. You are closing things. And this is the worst part. This is where a person's not willing to talk at all. But how do you open up a clenched fist? You open up a clenched fist only by giving them or handing out something which they hold on to. So the fingers open up, the minute fingers open up, your body automatically comes down to a point which might be body language is important. Learn it. Just read up on it. It really helps. What makes you happy? Moment forever memorable to you, ma'am. Oh, well, I think that's a very, very simple. That's the easiest question I've been asked today, I think. My daughter makes me happy. And my most memorable part of it is her being born. Despite all the pain that I've gone through in terms of childbirth, that little one has been my happiest moment ever, ever. And also because, the relationship I have with her is now very adult. She's 21 years old. And I don't look at her as a child. I have always looked at her as my child, but more importantly, as an individual who has to grow up to becoming someone that she wants to become, not something that I want to become. And I've been a single parent, so I brought her literally on my own, despite the number of people who have come into her life. And that is how it is. She's my happiness. She's my joy. She's not someone who upsets me all the time. She throws a tantrum, and I find even that hilarious sometimes because it's just her being her. She doesn't have to pretend to be somebody she's not. I don't pretend to be anybody I'm not in front of her. I'm exactly who I am, and I think that is important and that's very precious. So in your life, any obstacles come, and that obstacle can change in your life. Motive taken. I didn't get this question at all. I don't understand. Everything will change you. Let me just tell you, okay, everything in your life is designed to change you. 10 seconds ago, you were a different person. 10 seconds ago. Imagine that. No matter what person comes into your life, they will have an impact. Anything and everything around you will have an impact in your life. What you choose to have an impact in your life is your choice. But there is an impact. By the time you leave the session, by the time I read those questions and I'm answering them, I'm also discovering things about myself by the way. Every single time you ask me a question, I'm digging deeper into my head. I'm being transformed, and so are you. 10 seconds ago, 20 seconds ago, 10 minutes ago, there was something in your head. It has been transformed by what I'm telling you, by what you have been thinking about yourself. That's how quick transformation is. So, whatever obstacles are there, obstacles are meant to improve you. They are meant to change you. They're meant to help you evolve as a person. Because a person who's never failed obstacles, I'm sorry, they are in a very difficult spot. This is the reason why when people are spoiled for choice, they can't handle difficult situations. But those who've handled difficult situations over and over again find it easier to handle change and transformation. That's entirely up. Okay, we will get on to the leadership part. Are there any questions apart from the leadership questions? Can we continue? How to lead and get confidence in good life. Okay, let's get on with the leadership part because I believe all the questions are now mostly on leadership, right? True leadership. What's true leadership? True leadership is something that begins with you. In a team, any team that is consisting of mixed genders, there is a lot that is at play. You may not understand it if you're not working somewhere right now, but if you are or you worked in an environment, you've been in college, you worked as a team. So it's not that you've never worked as a team. Some of you may have been team leaders or being appointed constantly as team leaders. Some of you may be constantly, asked to become a part of a team. There is a lot of things that are at play in terms of in a team. There is ego, there is power, there's discrimination, and most of all, there is fear. Fear that their control over the rest of the team will go away if leadership is handed over to the right person. Fear. Fear that someone else who is better than them will replace them. Fear again. Fear that the success that they had been riding on as a leader, as a team leader, was actually based on the skills of the team members and they will be caught of not really having a skill. That is what makes bad. That's what makes people want to control things. That is not true leadership. What is true leadership is about taking people along, ensuring that every team member shines. Remember, a team is always consistent of people who have different areas of expertise. Every single person has a different skill set. There is a saying in the military, okay, and it's so important. You do not leave anyone behind. You don't leave anyone behind. That is a cardinal rule. When I say it is a cardinal rule, it means you have to bring everyone home. The onus of bringing everyone home is not only on the team leader, but also on the entire team. And why is that? That is because the military believes that every person selected in the team has been selected for a certain quality that they possess. Skills are learned, but quality of leadership exists in every single person, and they are, if not present, definitely huge leaders. That means if they're not present leaders, every team person, when they're selected in a team, they are future leaders. They may not be a team leader in the present, but they are they are people with full potential of becoming future leaders. You see, it's a very insecure spot for people who are insecure about letting go of power, letting go of control. This is the mindset that I have, that conscious thought when I work in a team, or even when I'm a team leader. You I am a future leader. If I'm working in a team, I am a future leader. If I'm leading, I will ensure that someone else becomes a leader so I can take a step back and allow them to. Why do I do that? Why should I? Because the experience as a team member, every team member is critical to my becoming a leader. Everybody carries specialized experience. That experience is important. So value. I cannot become a leader without those values that are there consistently available in the team. Not necessarily with me, but necessarily with almost every person, but not the same qualities. There are different qualities available. So that gives me the motivation to give in my best to the objective that is in hand. So a true leader looks at the mission differently. They look at completing the task and they look at tapping the best resources, all the resources that they have within the team to deliver. That is what military leadership teaches. And my skill sets that I have are unique, and so is everyone else's. Everyone is on a unique skill set. And we need all kinds of people in a team. Someone who is organized, someone who has great technical skills, for example, a person who is able to structure an idea, a person who's able to give ideas, a person uh, whose work is to be able to convert that idea into something that is understood by everyone, a person who knows how best to present it to somebody, a person who has the capacity to come out with brilliant things, brilliant ideas, but they may not necessarily be the ones who can execute. That's why you have brainstorming sessions and you find somebody really quiet and not saying anything, but they're writing stuff. Then there's someone who's saying something only when it's required. And that is where brainstorming is at its optimum, when everybody is given a chance to speak and a chance to put across their point, because that will give you an all-round perspective, rational perspective of what needs to be done, logical perspective of what needs to be done. So a person who has the gumption for doing a lot of research, for example, he's going to be great. He's going to be a solid person who can give advice, say, for example, on investment, because they are the ones who do their homework. But the person who gives the ideas is just brilliant with ideas. It's one after the other. Cut. All the ideas are coming and going. That's creative person. Don't expect them to handle finance. But when you want ideas, they have it all, but they may not be able to execute it or even structure it. Who structures it? Maybe an engineer, but then who sells out the idea to the marketing person? Who's going to get you the connection, the networker? So who's going to sell out the idea? One is projecting the idea, one is selling, the salesperson. Who's going to keep an account of what money comes in out of that idea? The accountant. And who's going to advise you on how to go about those things? The finance person, the researcher. And who's going to lead? The mentor. It's all part. So mentorship also needs to be shifting. So, for example, if you have a project, most of you have done projects, you've done your 5 hours and projects and stuff. In a project, what happens? There are different segments. Every segment requires an expert. So once that expert person comes on board, supposing you are at a stage in your project where you require technical things to take over, and so far the project has only been commercial, financial. So the financial person or the commercial person has been the team leader, for example. But now what has happened is now you need someone with technical skills to structure it. That means you have to replace the leadership and allow the person with the technical skills to lead, because he's the guy who knows the answer. When I say he, it means all genders, by just using a generic term. Okay? That leader, the leader who's not scared to hand over leadership to the person who requires to lead at that particular point of time, that is a person, who has the gumption for doing a lot of research. Like I said, there's a validation that is attached to a person's expertise. You need to have a guide. A leader is a guide you can look up to. And that leader knows how to keep everyone together and also contributes. And not everyone has the same skill sets, like I said. So when there's a requirement in the project, who knows someone, for example, someone who knows how to create a presentation, that person takes it. And that person says, I need this content, I need that content, I need that picture, I need this feedback, I need this data. But the expert is creating that presentation. Doesn't mean he's the only one who's done all the work. Everyone is put in something. So once the presentation is ready, there is someone who's going to be able to pitch the presentation. Are you getting my point? What I'm saying is a team is as weak as a leader and as strong as the leader who recognizes that leadership in the team members, a good team leader, a good leader, an effective leader is the person who requires and recognizes leadership in each of the team members and hands it over to them to lead the team when required. A person is not afraid to let go of that leadership and pass on the mantle to someone to get the job done. And you can do that when you're highly skilled, when you love to do, when you're passionate about what you're doing. Because then you're not scared, I'm going to be replaced. Just doing it for the love of it. And you're allowing someone to do it because they love doing it. That is letting go part. this is just an example to tell you how leadership can work. A leader may not have all the skill sets, and however, there's a critical quality as a leader that you need to have, and that's of recognizing leadership and the ability in someone else and giving them the opportunity to shine, and not thinking that, hey, my life, this is how I'm going to do it, and this is what is required. No. So what happens is that uh, there are two types of things. Such leaders are unforgettable ones. The leader that anybody and everybody remembers are these people who recognize ability in other people and allow them to grow as per the requirement of the job, as per the requirement of what is required of them to do in terms of getting the job done and getting the project finished and getting it over and done with. And such leaders are the ones that create the space of comfort, to feel no fear and enough of a challenging space to let a person grow as a team member and also as a leader. And that's it. So we also need to distinguish leadership from a boss. There are two types. Remember, one can be a manager and not be a leader, but a leader can be a manager. But mostly leaders allow to. And you need to distinguish such leaders from a boss. A boss does not listen, he will just tell you. They give instructions, bosses give instructions. And there is no space of having a say or in growth or a contribution. There are no ideas they are accepting. They're just telling you what to do. They say, do it the way I'm boss. They are the people who say, I know it all. And a team player or a potential leader does not lead the organization. They lead the people that are managing. They lead their managers, their bosses. So sometimes there is an exceptional person in your company and they will leave and you will not understand why they left. Despite the fact that they had a great pay, they were given every possible perk, but they've still left. They've not left you. They didn't want to leave the organization. They left the leadership that was managing. So in HR, for example, when I have a person, too many people leaving from one department, I investigate the manager. I don't investigate for them because people leave managers, their bosses. Not so. There is something essentially, fundamentally, that needs to be looked at. Looking at the leadership, people who are leading the team. So any department that has a high attrition rate, for example, needs to take a look at the manager managing that team. Any department with a high attrition of women, where women leave that department all the time, you need to look at the manager and other men in the team. Let me leave you with this thought to ponder. Think about it. It really is what human resources does as well. That's what HR is. We think we cannot do a lot of things that comes to us, but the truth is we do it all the time at home. And this is for the women who think they cannot take up leadership management. We do it all the time at home. We manage money, we manage finance, we are multitasking all the time. What stops us from doing it at work? We lead at home. Why don't we lead in the office? Why do we get intimidated? That's the question we need to ask ourselves. And intimidation in the office is very, very subtle, and it effectively diminishes our ability to multitask. Intimidation in actuality is not really something that is a result. In actuality, it is something of a threat that effectively propagates fear of failure inside any person for that. When a boss is intimidating a team member, they are already fearful, and that does not permit them to perform. Should they perform? We know what that feels like. All of us know what that feels like. Thus, if we let our fears of failure override our sensibility and ability, uh, we are going wrong somewhere. Would we allow that at home? No. When if a situation is really tight, but at home, when you want to deal with it, you deal with it. Why don't you do that in the office? Why don't you do that in other environments? So would we allow that at home? No, not at all. We would deal with it. We will tackle it. We are not intimidated. We'll deal with it. That's how we face it. So the best way of learning how to face your fears is actually replicating how you tackle it at home, bring it to the office, tackle it. But if you're not functional at home, then tackle what's at home the way you tackle it in the office. But it's a lot of emotional focus. Your EQ, your EQ needs to be really high. Emotional intelligence needs to be high. And that is what we need to recognize. If you do not recognize it for what it is, how can you ever get past it? If you do not recognize intimidation, how do you get past it? If you do not recognize fear, how do you get past your fear? And that is what you need to ask yourself. Are you ready to do that? If you're not ready, what is stopping? So you have to remember when you're talking about success, I got a lot of questions about success, remember? So remember the most successful person in the room is also the one who has experienced the maximum challenge. That is what brings about success. I have not used the word failure, talking about success, talking about lessons. There's no point using the word failure because, you know, the words that you use are important. There are no failures, there are only lessons. That is my mantra. There are lessons. When you do not get it right the first time, you can continue striving until you get it right. That lesson will be repeated. That is how it is taught in schools, isn't it? We all have been to school, and that's the subtle art of learning. You will learn until you get it right, and then you do not move on until you do, you get it right. And that's it. Then there's another lesson after that. And you learn until you work it, and then there is another lesson to learn. And your life is exactly like that. One lesson after the other, it will not stop. Please accept it. Lessons will always be there in your life, whether you like it, until you die. That's reality. That's so your life, gender irrespective, really is your biggest institution for learning. Learning never ends. I am here today and I'm still learning. There are lessons I have not learned. There are people who will impact my life and I've learned from them. There are parts about me that I don't know yet because that person has not touched my life. The minute they touch my life, that part of me which is still unknown to me will open up. That's why people come into your life and they leave when the purpose being in your life over. Some of them will stick around forever. That's okay. And some of them, so yeah, but, they will continue. The lessons will get repeated. Uh, so should I believe that I'm forever trapped in the cycle of learning lessons? Lessons? No. Everybody is in the same cycle. Whether they accept it or not is a different thing. So there's someone out there who's better at me doing a lot of things. It unsettles me. It unsettles me. It used to sometimes. And I find someone absolutely brilliant at, say, for example, singing. I can't sing, but I still do because I enjoy it. But I'm not aiming to become, you know, uh, someone really successful as a singer. I sing because I enjoy it. I like to do that. It's not a career for me. But there is an expert out there who can. There's an expert out there who can do great marketing. There's an expert out there who can do great sales. There's an expert out there who handles finance really well. That's their expertise. Your own expertise is different. Most of us are unsure of our own expertise. What am I really an expert at? And that is the struggle. The inner struggle is there because you're too scared. What if I'm not successful at anything? As long as you learn gratitude, that's a big skill. As long as you learn compassion, that's a big skill. And it's a great leadership skill, by compassion, gratitude, acceptance, courage. What are those skills? What are you naturally inclined at? Is that something that I'm naturally inclined at? Is what you need to ask. All right. That is what I look at as a person. If I'm passionate about something, I am more likely to succeed in it. If I'm not passionate about something, I'm more likely to not be happy. That's how it is. So most people wonder about why I should be considered an expert at something. You know, Piyush has brought me in as an expert in I don't think I'm an expert at something. But what I do is I share life experience because experiences teach you a lot. The truth is that I'm expert at life because I've experienced it in way too many ways, too many times to count. Yes. And expertise does not come only from studying books alone or obtaining a certification. trust me, to reading is a great habit to cultivate. Please do cultivate that habit. If you cannot, then listen to audiobooks. Uh, I love my paperback. I can't do without. If there's one habit you need to cultivate in life, please do it. That's reading. Learning does not come from management and self-help books alone. Please read other things as well. It also comes from anywhere. Most of my learning experiences or things that I've learned about how to manage things did not come from self-help books, management books, because I find management books very boring, and tedious. I learn from thrillers. I learn from fiction. I learn from a romance. I learn from a crime novel or even a poem. I learn from anything and everything. Expertise comes with experience. Each time you have to learn a lesson and it's getting repeated. Even when you read a book after some time or read the same poem, it gives you a different perspective every time you read it. And that's what life is about. You may choose to see it or not. That's different. If you do see it, you have gained something new and you have gained a perspective that was missed out the last time and you're gaining it now. There's always something new to get from it. And that is the art of finding an upside and a downside, which is how I remain happy, which is how I remain positive. Well, no matter how something goes wrong or upsets me or is not working the way I want it to work, I look for the upside because things may happen that are not in my control, but finding the upside in that downside is important. That's why that keeps me upbeat, that keeps me alive, that keeps me sane. I am an insane person in a lot of ways, but that's what keeps my sanity intact. Finding an upside in the downside. Otherwise, I would probably be in a mental institution. Most people probably think that I should, but yeah. So, that is the secret to my staying motivated. A lot of people think and feel that I'm strong and courageous. Um, I suppose I am, but I'm also fragile and vulnerable. Find me a person who can cry. If you tell me that a person can't cry, I will find you a person who can cry. If you feel deeply enough about things and it affects you, I will tell you that a person who cries is the strongest and bravest person. You need courage to cry, courage for tears, because then you're putting yourself out there as somebody fragile, as somebody vulnerable. That needs a lot of bravery. Our role is to be able to change perspective. If we wish to be understood, we have to change a part of the formula, like I said. Remember? So perhaps that's what it is. We all have studied basic mathematics. We don't apply it back. But there's a lot of teaching right there. Basic mathematics. Never in my life I thought Venn diagrams would make so much sense to me like it does now. I can hold an entire session on relationships just based on Venn diagrams and explain. That's how. That was the lesson when I was studying math. Maths beyond calculus. I was even everything else there's an expert for it. So it's not something that interests me or I'm passionate. So it's not just life is not just about transactions or architecture or commerce. Life is a lot about humanity as well. It's a lot about uh, the crux of things, the nature of things, the value of. So the world is too harsh, and hate has its turn at uh, hate has had its turn at making the world a very the place where we are in. This is our doing, right? We have festered hatred for so many things. Maybe it's time to flip that switch and let compassion, firmness, strength that has kindness and mindfulness take the place. Uh, World leaders probably change the way we think and perceive as well. But fear of power, fear of losing power is going to keep them exactly where they are. And we feel that we are far too weak and we don't have enough gumption or enough clout to get them to change. People's opinion matters, your voice matters. And women leadership on that count, I'm sorry guys, but women leadership on that count is critical. Why is it critical? Because so far, most 90% of the leaders in the world are male. And look at the mess we are in. Maybe it's time to put that. May think about That's why women leadership, like I said, is critical. We are critical, possible heroes to be the change that the world so requires. Maybe women leadership can change that. Maybe leadership which is in a compassionate manner, which has perspectives of emotions as much as spiritual strength and mental strength and emotional strength. Maybe that will work. Leadership can also, by women, can also go wrong. Let me tell you that. I'm being a woman and I'm saying it. I do. I would rather simply call it leadership. I call it just. I have struggled to remove the gender from the equation for work, where largely where work is concerned, and it's not easy. But remember, nothing that is worthy has ever come easy. You think everything's going to come to you on a platter. I'm sorry, you're mistaken. I'm not going to give you any lucky mantra or a charm for it. You have to work. Don't ask what the world owes you. You owe the world. It existed before you existed. You owe it to the world. It is not the earth that is getting destroyed. The planet will evolve. We keep evolving. It is us who are getting destroyed. We're just looking at it. Perspective perhaps needs to change. So yeah, today let's just take those baby steps that you need to get to a space of becoming the right kind of leader that the world needs. It begins with the environment that you are in. It begins with parenting. It begins with you. Please create your own rules. Someone somewhere was a first timer as well. You remember when rules were made? Someone made it for the first time. Create your path. That's important. You know, someone somewhere decided one fine day that this is how I will do it. That's how it became a rule. And they did something new for the first time and then repeated it. That's when it became a norm or a rule. So a rule is an establishment of something that is repeated enough number of times to become something habitual. Choose what you want to become a habit. Please have ideals that are your own self-belief system, your values. Please be your own hero. Don't look for a Prince Charming to come and rescue you. Be better tomorrow, but don't be better in comparison to someone else. Be better than yourself, than what you were yesterday. That's it. Your competition should be yourself. It's not a race. It's not uh, something that you get awarded at the end of the year or something like that. No, that's very relative in life, in interest. So ideals are cosmic, you know, utopia. Very cosmic, like stars that you may or may not reach. However, please choose for it to be your guide. Uh, like you look at the compass for your true north, please be your own true north. That's important. Please build that for yourself. Follow them with the right intent. I'm going to ask you whether you guys have started writing your intent, that A to Z exercise I gave in the middle, in between. I'm not so sure how many of you are actually writing it down. I'd really love to know someone who has completed it. You are here to create your own destiny. I didn't say destination, destiny. That's different. And I would like to conclude this segment by a quote uh, of Jerome Lawrence and Robert E. which says, I was always afraid of what I might think. So it seemed safer not to think at all. But now I know a thought is like a child inside our body. It has to be born. If it dies inside of you, a part of you also dies. So please learn to live and feel the most alive that you have ever felt on a daily basis. And if you haven't done that, please begin now. So yeah, thank you for patient listening. The floor is open for questions for final round. Atharva has created A to Z list just now, ma'am. That's lovely. Thank you so much. And I am so glad that has something has come out of it, right? So questions, who else has made the list by now? Anyone else who has completed? There are no scoring marks, okay, that, if you don't complete it, I'm going to get one. So I'd really like and want to post it. You can post it on chat if you want, if you can manage to access the chat. But yeah, thank you, Kunle Oshe. Thank you so much for your well. Thank you so much for listening and not sleeping. What are your weaknesses as a leader, and how did I overcome that? I think for me, leadership was a lot about understanding strengths. And, when I was in college or when I was even in school, okay, leadership was thrown at me. I was more of a person who would just sit back and quietly do my thing. I was the quiet, naughty kind, not the loud, naughty kind, the introvert, naughty, not the extrovert, not want to understand. And so by the time I went to 10th grade, I was not a person who could be controlled. I did mostly what I wanted to do. The nuns were sick of me, but they also saw a lot of potential in me. So what they did was, in the 10th grade, they made me class leader. And until then, I had the concept that only goody goody girls. I was studied in a convent and all girls school. So I always thought goody goody girls will become the ones who are brilliant in class will become the leaders. And they changed that. They just made me class prefect. And they made another rebellious girl from the other house class prefect. Both of us became great friends, by the way. And both of us were rebellious kids who now had the responsibility of managing an entire class and being accountable. And that was leadership that was pushed to us by teachers who saw more potential in us and allowed us to do. Of course, I did a lot of things that I have no regrets about, but yeah, that's for another day. But yeah, that taught me about being, that was the first part of being a leader that came to me. Also, because I was the older person in the house, being responsible was my job. Yeah, my brother did all the crazy things, and I was responsible for it. So yeah, anytime anything went wrong, I was responsible. So yeah, you can learn from so many things in life. Everything is going to teach you a lesson. So then I started playing games. I played basketball. So I played basketball for my state. And then I took over as captain. So it just teaches you. All of these things will teach you. Do you agree nowadays that the Indian political leaders' leadership qualities are becoming? When was a political leader's leadership not felt? That's my question. The only political leader in the history of India, in the history of independent India, which I believe had had the best interests of the country in mind, was Lal Bahadur Shastri. Now, people think I will probably name someone from other people. No, Lal Bahadur Shastri, I think, was somebody who, who just had great skills, just was selfless. Uh, there is no, there are no leaders in politics. They're all politicians. Leadership does not. It's not about only telling people what to do, making them believe that this is reality. Reality is very. When you take everybody along, then it becomes leadership. So no, I don't agree with the fact that there are any good leaders. There are leaders, but there are most leaders who need lessons. In, yeah, you know, making political statements, getting better words. So how can you contrast the leaderships from one to another? Which is the best quality a leader has to have? A leader has to have the quality of understanding when to hand over leadership reins to someone else and take it back again when required. A leadership that is leading by example is far better than one that just asks you to do something. That you have to be able to, if you're asking someone to do something, uh, especially when you're asking someone to endanger themselves for you, you need to be able to do that same thing. People need to respect you as a leader, and it's not to be demanded, it's supposed to be earned. And you earn leadership respect only when you put your team before yourself. Always. You have to put your team before you. What else? So leadership qualities are quite many. There's so many leadership qualities. So how to lead and get confidence in a good life? Be true to yourself. Be honest as you can. Don't pretend to be somebody you're not. Not everybody can become a leader. Let me tell you, in a room of 20 people, if all 20 are leaders, there's only going to be fighting. Allow yourself to be led and allow yourself to become, depending on the situation. That has to change. How can we know about our strengths? Figure out what you're passionate about. There is strength in that. There's a lot of strength. Once you find out what you're passionate about, hone those skills. Become an expert in whatever you do. But what you do, you should be passionate about. That is going to give you strength. But in terms of self-belief strength, you need to have belief in yourself, have faith in yourself. That's very important. Extremely important. Have faith in yourself. Believe that you will get up. Believe that you will fall, but you will rise again. Believe that you will not, give up on yourself. That's important. And being vulnerable, by the way, is a strength. Being able to show yourself as vulnerable, as fragile as any other person. Most people hide that, trying to pretend that they're brave. That's not brave. That's not courage. That's all about hiding. That's all about hypocrisy. Never pretend. Any other question? Atul, is your question answered? What are the most important attributes of successful leaders today? I think, if you're talking about political leadership, it needs to be for the people, by the people of India. Remember your preamble. Go back to your preamble. Read it. That is what any successful leader is to provide to any of the citizens in the country. That's what. In terms of a successful leader in any organization, you need to uh, tell people the reason why they need to commit. If you want commitment from your team, if you want commitment from your organization members, you need to involve them. If you don't involve people in what you're doing, if you don't explain to them their role in the organization, or how important their role is in the organization, they will not come. Commitment is important. And that's important for a leader to be able to extract out of the person. And that will not come from giving them a great pay package. That will come from having emotional quotient, knowing about them more than anything. I know people who lead huge organizations and don't know the name of the person. Uh, it's important to know the names of the people that you're with. I know with age, we forget. I forget names now. But when I was handling HR, for example, for an organization in Nigeria, there were 14 companies, which expanded to 17 companies. There were 2,500 employees, and I knew each one's file. I knew each person's name. 2,500 people in the. It's important. If you don't remember all their names, when you are going to meet people, read about them, read about them, then go and meet them. That's how they appreciate it. Especially a person who's, probably not as senior. If you're going and meeting a junior, especially, it's important how you treat them. You treat people with respect, they will respect you back. You treat people with a lot of rudeness, that is what's going to come back to the middle. People will reach out to you only as far as you're willing to meet them, reach out. And as a successful leader, that's important. Reaching out, connecting, communicating right, doing right by what you promised to, what you promised to them. And if you've not been able to, uh, you need to acknowledge it. So how does one master patience in the act of leadership? Patience. Art of listening. You remember I talked about listening at the beginning. That's important. If you don't listen carefully and pause, it's not going to happen. So mastering patience in the act of leadership is the art of leadership is mostly, patience is something you learn by finding what gives you, what calms you down. Find your Zen space, finding your calm spot. And finding your calm sense is where you are able to completely uh, bring all your focus into one place and not think of anything, not get distracted. And that is going to bring you to a space of calm, which teaches you patience. Patience is also about not looking down on people. Patience is about hearing somebody, registering it, absorbing it before you react. It's about listening to understand rather than to just react and respond back. So patience is a lot to do with your own self. And if you feel like responding to someone just even before they're finished, count to 10, count to 100, keep counting. That starts even with your friend. You get upset over so many things. Patience is about acknowledging that if a person has wronged you, there were also hundreds of things they did right by you. Don't write that off. Appreciate that as well. Being grateful teaches a lot, by the way. We don't see the connection until we start practicing art of gratitude. Be grateful for what you have. Be grateful for what is around you. We keep saying thank you to strangers. How many times have we actually just randomly called up our friends and said, hey, thank you for being there? Just like that, randomly. Write out a letter, a gratitude letter to someone. It's going to teach you patience in a way that is different because it helps you grow. Gratitude helps you grow. So mastering patience is all about, letting a fly settle on your nose and not using a sword to kill it, mostly. So yeah, patience, and you should watch a movie actually. I would recommend anybody who wants to learn patience. Uh, please watch Kung Fu Panda if you have not watched it, or watch The Karate Kid. These two movies can teach you a lot of. Try it. What else? Are there any more questions? I must also tell you, I don't have all the answers. Piyush, do we have any more questions? Piyush, are you there?
Yes, ma'am. Here.
Do we have any more questions?
No, no, ma'am. I think we have done with all the queries.
All right.
So now I would like to uh, pay vote of thanks. It's my privilege to propose a vote of thanks on the event of Leadership and Art of Letting Go. I, Piyush Kashyap, on behalf of Engineers Connect and the entire fraternity of management here, extend very heartily gratitude to the speaker for gracing your crucial work and sharing with us your knowledge today. It has been our pleasure to host all the participants of this session. The participants were very enthusiastic, and I am thankful for them coming here to attend the session. We have been fortunate to have the eminent person like you, Sandhya Suri. I'm sure that the participants are benefited by coming here. I am very much thankful to the Engineers Connect family and especially to Mr. Bhushan Gaikwad who constantly giving me motivation for doing this. I take this opportunity to extend my sincere thanks to all the team members of event organizing team at Engineers Connect. An event of this dimension can't happen overnight and needs meticulous planning and execution and eye for detail. I thank each one enough for the involvement they have shown and the willingness they have expressed to take on the completion of the work beyond their comfort zone. Thank you very much. Stay home, stay safe, be confident. Follow the COVID-19 guidelines by government strictly. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Bhushan. Thank you, Piyush, and the team that has worked behind the lines. I don't know how many of you have worked, but yeah, thank you for the creatives that you made and all the social media buzz that you guys created. But most of all, thank you to the audience for such a patience listening. It's been like 2.5 hours. it's not easy to stay awake 2.5 hours, and you guys have done that, so thank you. And if you wish to reach me, you can always reach me on Clubhouse. I mean, it's one of the most popular platforms now, easily available. Otherwise, get a connection from Piyush, and I'm more than happy to connect with you guys.
Ma'am, we are
Thank you so much.
receiving a comment from Ali Ansari. The webinar was good, helpful, and informative today, ma'am. Thanks for conducting this webinar today. Thank you.
Thank you. I would appreciate if you guys could email that to me, or at least, put it somewhere where I can quote you on my website, because that really helps me with my work. Thank you so
I'll
much.
I'll create that creative, ma'am, for you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I will.
Right.
So thank you so much, ma'am, for this session. And I would like to say that most of them waited for nearly 2.5 hours, and it happens very rarely in most of the webinars. So that itself tells that how valuable it was for them. And we would surely expect you to like conduct more webinars for Engineers Connect in future. And you are always welcome to Engineers Connect. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you. Thank you so much. Most grateful. Well, thank you so much. Time to leave. Thank you, Piyush. Thank you once again. Thank
Thank you.
you, Bhushan.
Thank you.
Wish everyone the best.